Hope you're having an amazing one, Wrestlezona family, whenever you happen to be tuning in. My name is Lance Reece, your definitive host for the hour. I've been a fan of professional wrestling since I was about 6 years old, begging my parents to buy me action figures ever since I saw videos of Jeff Hardy's swanton bombing on YouTube. We got another packed episode for you today, as we here on episode 11 of Wrestlezona on 88.7 The Pulse. We'll cover what's happening in the world of WWE, All Elite Wrestling, the Indies, and even wrestling here local in the Valley. Stay tuned to hear which two WWE championships changed hands in the past week, results from last weekend's Elimination Chamber matches, upcoming shows here in Arizona, and more, all coming up. We have some exciting segments coming up this hour, such as our 10-bell history. We also have an exclusive interview with the reigning Phoenix Championship Wrestling AZ Heavyweight Champion, Jon Wolfgang. Hopping into the worlds of WWE, we had a very stacked week. And you want to talk stacked, let's talk the Elimination Chamber matchups. We had Bianca Belair win the 2025 Women's Elimination Chamber match. The EST is heading to the Showcase of the Immortals as Bianca Belair defeated Bayley, Alexa Bliss, Naomi, Roxanne Perez, and Liv Morgan inside the Wicked Elimination Chamber. Naomi and Morgan were slated to begin the match, but the shocking return of Jade Cargill upended the proceedings. Expecting to be attacked, a terrified Morgan pleaded with Cargill, but Cargill rushed Naomi instead, thrashing her around the structure and slamming the chamber door on her before the match began. The ringside officials deemed Naomi unable to compete, thus eliminating her from the match. An emotionally stunned Belair was forced to enter next, and she went right to the area where Naomi was being stretchered out, allowing Morgan to gain the upper hand and unleash an attack. Belair stabilized her emotions long enough to land some offense, but Perez entered the match and knocked the EST back down to the mat. Bayley entered the match next and reignited her months-long rivalry with Perez. As the superstars lay broken in the ring, Bliss became the final superstar to the chaos and cleaned house, knocking Morgan, Perez, and Bayley down to the canvas. With the remaining 5 superstars all legally in the match, the action came fast and furious, with Bayley and Perez continuing to fight, only for Morgan to sneak up on the role model, hit Oblivion, and eliminate the former WWE Women's Champion. Belair proceeded to chase Morgan to the top of a pod and brutally whipped the WWE Women's Tag Team Champion with her braid, causing a deafening crack that echoed throughout the Rogers Center and even cut Morgan's leg. Belair then launched herself from the structure with a crossbody onto Morgan and Bliss. Perez laid in wait, looking for a moment to strike, but Bliss flipped the script and hit a twisted Bliss to eliminate the NXT superstar, whittling the field down to 3. Bliss nailed Belair with a Sister Abigail, but Morgan rolled up the twisted superstar with a jackknife cover and shockingly eliminated her thanks to some leverage from Belair's braid. Drained physically and emotionally, Belair and Morgan traded devastating blows that included the EST tossing Morgan into the pod and the chamber wall several times. Morgan had one last gasp, but her attempt at Oblivion was countered into a match-ending KOD, sending Belair to WrestleMania 41. The WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus defeated Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus returned to the ring in epic fashion as she and WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton defeated Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. The hometown hero Trish Stratus showed out in front of a raucous Toronto crowd, going right at Nia Jax, planting her with a tornado DDT, and even hitting LeRae with a spinebuster. The irresistible force unleashed her incredible power, as one fall away slam grounded the legend while Jax and LeRae mocked her on their mat. As Trish Stratus suffered at the hands of Jax and LeRae, the restless crowd desperately chanted for Stratton to be tagged in, and their wish was granted as the WWE Women's Champion flipped the momentum for her team. Stratton hit a back handspring elbow and an Alabama slam on LeRae before blasting Jax with a ring-rattling spinebuster that brought the Rogers Center crowd to its feet. After a quick burst from Jax, Trish Stratus tagged back in and used her signature offense, highlighted by a super Stratusfaction from the top rope. With Jax and LeRae now scattered, Trish Stratus tagged in Stratton, who hit a prettiest moonsault ever to win the match and earn a standing ovation from the Toronto faithful. Next up, Kevin Owens defeats Sami Zayn in an unsanctioned match. At times the best of friends and also the bitterest of enemies, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens battled in an unsanctioned match, with only the prize fighter left standing at the conclusion. The match quickly devolved into a fight as Zayn introduced steel chairs, with Owens being the first to use them, unleashing a barrage of vicious shots. Zayn followed suit with an attack of his own and introduced a hockey stick, much to the delight of the Canadian crowd. Owens fired back by attacking Zayn with the hockey stick. It even bit his opponent on the face as he wrenched his jaw with the stick. The two superstars then battled throughout the crowd, with a fired up Zayn dumping a trash can onto Owens before crashing him through a pair of tables. Owens and Zayn found themselves back in the ring after a ring bell attack from Owens. A resilient Zayn stayed in the fight even after a brainbuster through a chair and found enough strength to hit an exploder suplex through the same chair. A deranged Owens pulled the official into an upcoming haluva kick and attacked another official after his stunner wasn't enough to end the match. The destruction continued as Owens hit an avalanche brainbuster through a table, causing concern from the new official. With one last gasp, Zayn hit a hell of a kick out of nowhere and introduced a barbed wire wrapped chair, which he slammed on his opponent's back before smashing him through it with a blue thunder bomb. A deafening crowd of over 38,000 cheered in approval of the carnage, but they quickly fell into a hush when Owens regained the upper hand and blasted Zayn, hitting him with 2 apron power bombs and tossing his lifeless body into the ring to secure the pin. As the perverse Owens walked off in victory, he fought his way free of WWE officials and back to the ring for more destruction and exposed the concrete underneath the mat, only for Randy Orton to make his shocking return. The Viper unloaded on KO, the superstar that put him on the shelf several months ago, landing a devastating RKO and going for a pun kick, only for several WWE officials to stop him at the last second. John Cena's last WrestleMania match will be for the undisputed WWE Championship, as the legendary superstar won the 2025 Elimination Chamber match for the right to challenge Cody Rhodes on the grandest stage of them all. Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins started the match and battered each other, dropping one another on the outside with the Visionary, at one point smashing the Scottish Warrior into CM Punk's pod, much to Punk's delight. Damian Priest entered the match and immediately squared off with McIntyre, and Logan Paul did the same with a high-flying springboard crossbody onto the Scottish Warrior. Cena exited his pod next and took out all 4 superstars, electrifying the crowd with a 5-knuckle shuffle to the Maverick. Cena followed that up with an attitude adjustment on Paul, but he turned into a Claymore from McIntyre. In a stunning turn of events, the Scottish Warrior was caught in a roll-up from Priest and eliminated from the match. After McIntyre decked Priest, Paul scaled to the top of Punk's pod and hit a huge frog splash, eliminating the Archer of Infamy. The Second City Saint came out of his pod swinging and took out Paul, leading to Punk and Cena sharing a hug before Rollins smashed Punk from behind. Just moments later, Punk made good on his promise and put Paul to sleep with the GTS, eliminating him. The final 3 superstars slugged it out, but Cena and Punk formed a quick partnership, hitting a heart attack as an homage to Canadian legends Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Punk and Cena proceeded to go right at each other, leading to an epic exchange that saw both superstars going for the win. After trading submission attempts, Cena caught a flying crossbody and hit an AA, only for Punk to kick out. Cena scaled to the top rope but was foiled by Rollins, who hit a buckle bomb onto the hellacious chamber wall before tossing Cena through a pod. Rollins began to target Punk, but he couldn't put him away even after a pedigree and a devastating stomp. Seemingly out of nowhere, Cena returned to the action and distracted Rollins long enough for Punk to hit go to sleep into an attitude adjustment, eliminating the Visionary and setting up an iconic Final 2. The deafening Toronto crowd cheered for both superstars as they delivered their best shot, but neither a go-to-sleep nor an attitude adjustment was enough to end the match. As Punk crawled to the outside, a furious Rollins returned to stomp his rival, allowing Cena to lock in an STF. Moments later, Punk passed out, sending Cena to WrestleMania 41. Moments later, undisputed WWE Champion Cody Rhodes took to the ring to congratulate John Cena on winning the Elimination Chamber. But the final boss, The Rock, and the rap star Travis Scott interrupted their meeting. The Rock demanded the American Nightmare's answer to his offer of owning his soul and becoming his champion, but Rhodes profanely declined. As Cena embraced Rhodes for making that decision, he suddenly received a signal from The Rock. Seconds later, the 16-time world champion shockingly booted Rhodes below the belt and carried out a meticulous and devastating attack, leaving the American Nightmare in a bloody, crumpled heap as the WWE Universe watched in horror. After 21 years, John Cena is heel. Also, Shawn Spears is now the NXT North American Champion. What a week for the WWE with their Elimination Chamber event. I'm Lance Reece with Wrestlezona on 88.7 The Pulse. Got a favorite wrestling theme you want to hear on the show? Give me a DM on Instagram at Wrestlezona with your favorite song and segment of the show. Let's get into our 10-bell history. 10-bell history. 1. Ron Killings, WWE's R-Truth, was the first ever African-American NWA World Champion. 2. If you include non-televised matches, Lance Storm has a winning record against Brock Lesnar. 3. Lou Thez, Mae Young, Abdullah the Butcher, and Jimmy Valiant all wrestled in 7 different decades. 4. Kurt Angle was the first person in history to win 2 different world championships, the WWF and WCW championship, in WWE. 5. Michael Cole has a higher win percentage at WrestleMania than The Undertaker. 6. Hulk Hogan was 41 when he joined the NWO. 7. For comparison, CM Punk was 42 when he first joined All Elite Wrestling. 8. The first episode of NXT debuted exactly 8 years after Ring of Honor's first show, and Bryan Danielson main evented both shows. 9. Bull Nakano and Mayu Iwatani are the only female wrestlers that wrestled at the Tokyo Dome, Madison Square Garden, and Arena Mexico. 10. Ricky Steamboat, Roddy Piper, Greg Valentine, and Cowboy Bob Orton appeared on both the first Starrcade and the first WrestleMania. That wraps up our 10-bell history. How is everyone's weekend so far? Any good wrestling shows you've been to? Any upcoming? Let me know on Instagram. At Wrestlezona is where you can find me. We have our interview with PCW Arizona Heavyweight Champion Jon Wolfgang coming up. Now let's get into our interview with Jon Wolfgang. All right, so I'm joined in studio, and who am I speaking with today?
I am Jon Wolfgang, professional wrestler for Phoenix Championship Wrestling and the current Phoenix Championship Wrestling heavyweight champion.
Wow, so other than the championship, who really is Jon Wolfgang?
You know, I've spent a lot of years trying to figure it out, and I think in some ways I still am, but what I think and who I think Jon Wolfgang is I'm a man who gives his best every single time I'm out there in the ring. I'm a fighter. I'm scrappy. You know, as wolves backed into a corner get pretty scrappy and get pretty fierce, I'm the same way. I am by no means the most talented wrestler out there. I think I'm a pretty honest person in my view of myself. I rely on a lot of grit, heart, and determination, and I think most of all, the willpower that I get from the fans. It's something really cool to have that connection with people, and it fuels you in a different way than you can find something beyond yourself. I believe in trying to be a good person, and that being a good person gets you rewarded with a lot of different things, perspective, life, choices. I'm a strong believer in my religion and my faith, and that fuels me and that drives me to want to be better, to want to aspire to something beyond myself. And I think those sorts of things encapsulate who Jon Wolfgang is. I really love people. I want to inspire people to find something good. The reason why I got into professional wrestling, because it was something that inspired me. It made me want to get out, get active, talk to people. Wrestling is full of extraordinary characters who are larger than life in their speech, in their actions, in the moves that they perform. And you could see, you know, in the faces of the audience, especially for me growing up, the excitement they elicited from people, how they were able to make them feel something. And I think that's what I want to do. I want to inspire people to feel something cool, to feel something important. So as far as who Jon Wolfgang is, I think that encapsulates a lot of it. Like I said, I try my best to be a good person every day. I do understand the effect I have, especially on kids, and I don't want to let them down. So try trying my best to be a good person in this wild world we live in of professional wrestling.
It is a wild world. And what got you into that mindset of pro wrestling? You said you were a fan?
Oh yeah. So when I was a little kid, I was raised with 4 other siblings, me, them, my mom, and I was raised by my stepdad. And we would sit down and we would watch matches on wrestling. WWF. He was a huge Bret Hitman Hart fan, and so naturally I became a huge Bret Hitman Hart fan as well. And so that was like early on memories, is watching it with my dad, you know, him telling me stories about how he watched wrestling with his dad. And then I started to like develop my own love for certain wrestlers and certain characters. And I found it really inspiring as a kid. To me, they were superheroes. These guys who were in shape, who were giving their all, fighting the bad guys, you know, standing up for the things that are good, you know, the underdogs who seemed to get kicked down over and over, but still would find a way to come out on top. It was just really inspiring as a kid.
How long have you been actively competing for?
Let's see. So I've been actively competing, gosh, it would have been 2021, I believe. So I think in August it's actually going to be 4 years, which is wild.
Yes,
Yeah.
not that long.
No. But I mean, it definitely feels like it sometimes. The bumps and the bruises that you get, they start to take a toll. I've been in the business for about 8 years now. I've held every job you pretty much can imagine inside of wrestling. I've been a ring announcer. I've worked backstage. I've set up the ring. I've torn down the ring, set up music, everything like that. 5 years ago, I started training, though, with Dom Vitalli at the training center that we both own and operate, the Arizona Pro Wrestling Training Center. And it's been well worth the time, the effort, and even all the bumps and bruises to be able to get there and perform in a ring.
I like that you mentioned the training center. 6 years recently?
6 years.
6
Yeah,
years.
we just
Wow.
turned 6 years old. So happy birthday to the training center, and thank you to everyone who helped us.
Yeah, you and Dom have talked about wrestling being more than just wrestling. Can you elaborate on what that means from kind of your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what I saw wrestling as when I was a kid. Like I saw these people as inspirational people. You know, they were able to fight through some sort of adversity, and they didn't let it take them down. And I think that's something that people need to understand, hopefully, about wrestling, is that it's not just about, you know, the moves and everything that goes on, you know, inside the ring. It's about the people that are actually wrestling, and it's about what they represent. So when we say it's bigger than wrestling, we're talking about the stories behind the wrestlers, the things that you take away when you go home, because you're not going to remember every flippity-doo-dah move, which might be super impressive, but you're going to remember the way that people make you feel. And so our hope is when people leave a Phoenix Championship Wrestling show, a Slam U Wrestling show, or even when they leave out of our training center, and some of them, you know, not everyone sticks around at the training center. We wish we could have 100% of people who come in through our doors eventually trained fully to the point where they're able to be wrestlers and on the road, but it's not realistic, right? But the things that they take from the training center, they're able to apply to their lives. Hard work, dedication, the ability to sit through trouble and find a way out of it. That's why we say it's bigger than wrestling. And it's, you know, it's also has to do with our outreach to the community. We very much want to be involved in Arizona, particularly in the metropolitan area of Phoenix and Mesa particularly. We want people to know that we're here, and we're here to provide entertainment for them, but hopefully a source of inspiration as well. So, you know, wrestling's cool, but making people feel something's even better. Making them be able to reach out for their own dreams is even better. Not everyone's going to be a wrestler, but if you can take what we do from one of our shows and pursue your own dreams, you're a little girl who wants to be president one day, you're a boy who wants to fly to the moon and back, whatever it is, we want to help you feel like you can do it, because you can.
Do you feel as if Phoenix Championship Wrestling has become this sort of hub for local community output of wrestling and get together, kind of like families getting together to?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And you see it in even the demographics within our crowds. And I think you've been there to a lot of our shows, so you've been able to see, like, it's not just, teenagers who are coming, to cause a stir and just to be rowdy and everything. We like that too. But it's also grandpas and grandmas, their little kid, granddaughters and grandsons. It's moms and dads, the hardworking parents who have 3, 4 kids and just want to enjoy a night out doing something that's not going to break their bank. Because we live in the real world, and, especially right now, people are looking at their budgets and trying to adjust them. And it's like, well, how can I afford, something nice for my family without, obviously costing us groceries, right? Phoenix Championship Wrestling is a way to take your family for a nice night out, enjoy some great high-octane entertainment, and you'll feel all sorts of emotions: laughter, joy, elation, sadness, trial, all those things that make life life. You'll be able to feel when you come to one of our shows. So I think it binds a lot of people together. And no matter what age you are, no matter what demographic you come from, race, creed, religion, you can come to a pro wrestling show and you can feel what the wrestlers are trying to portray to you, whether it's the good guy or the bad guy. You know who they are because you experience those same emotions in yourself.
Kind of circling back to what you've been doing, I've heard you talk about wanting to get into pro wrestling the right way. What does that mean to you, the right way of getting into pro wrestling?
Well, I think it starts with your intentions and what you're willing to put into it. There, unfortunately, are some people who get into pro wrestling and they think that, well, just because I have a passion for it, I can just start it. I can just do it. You need to understand what you're getting involved in is not just theater. It's not just, this act that we put out there. What we do is really physical. What we do really takes a lot of calculation, a lot of timing, a lot of deliberation, and a lot of dedication. Before I came over here, I woke up at 5 a.m. and got my first workout in. I ate a strict diet every morning of oatmeal, eggs, rice, chicken or beef, and then protein drinks and protein snacks like trail mix or a protein bar. That's pretty much my normal day as far as my diet. It doesn't sound fun. Like a fun thing to do would be going down to Whataburger and getting a double meat Whataburger with some fries on the side, nice strawberry milkshake, right?
Yeah.
You have to understand that there are things that you have to sacrifice. And food is one small thing. I've had to sacrifice time away from family and their family that I love, and that I miss on a daily basis. I've had to sacrifice relationships because I have to put time into this, because I believe in what I'm doing. And so those are some of the things that you have to understand when you get into this business. There's a right way to do things and the wrong way to do things. And I'm not saying you have to completely sacrifice your family, by the way, but I am saying there are times when you're not going to be able to make a birthday party, a important meeting for someone else, or a hangout with some friends. Those are all cool things and things that we should try to do. We should try to be connected with people. But when the gym calls, the gym calls. When the diet calls, the diet calls. And those are the little things that you have to be willing to put in order to do this the right way. This isn't a passing thing that you can just get involved in. And that's not, I haven't even talked about, the idea of film study in professional wrestling, looking at matches and looking at how they do things, getting inspiration from different wrestlers. Like one of my inspirations is right now Cody Rhodes over in the WWE. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's absolutely great, from his connection to the audience, to how he performs inside of a ring, to the dedication he has outside of the ring, signing autographs, making sure that he has time available for fans, honing in on his own craft, giving back to other wrestlers. He owns a trading academy over in Georgia called the Nightmare Factory. he's in 100%. And you have to understand, if you're going to get involved in this business, you have to be willing to put that work in. You have to be willing to give yourself to this. Because if you're just going to be passive about it and kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you're going to go nowhere. At that point, it's okay just to be a fan. It's okay just to watch. But if you're going to be in,
You got to be in.
you got to be in.
It's tough, like you mentioned, outside the ring, but even inside the ring, like you fought some tough opponents.
Yeah.
Of note, like Gabriel Gallo, Joe Graves. Like these are tough guys. Who would you say is the toughest guy you've gone face to face with in the ring?
Joe Graves.
Joe Graves?
Yeah, hands down. I don't even have to hesitate about it. Joe Graves, I know I'm not allowed to speak cuss words, so I'm going to refrain from it. He beat my butt really bad. Really, really bad a couple times. I've been left bruised, broken by Joe many, many times. And I understood what I was getting involved in. He's a very, very tough opponent. I think you had him to talk one time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a very forthright man, and he's going to come and he's going to beat you up, and you're going to know it, and you're going to feel it afterwards. And I did. I felt it multiple times when I've been in the ring with him. But I have the utmost respect for him because he doesn't just, passively give me something. I have to earn everything when I'm in the ring with him. And he's big, he's strong, he's physical. He's a former BJJ world champion, all-around impressive athlete. He's got size, and he knows the business. You're not going to outsmart Joe Graves. Like if you think he's just some big lumbering guy who's not strategic, you've lost already before you've entered the ring.
I know, that's the scariest part, knowing the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not just big, he's smart too. So he's by far the toughest man that I've been in the ring with.
What were some of the biggest challenges and setbacks that you had to face personally to get to where you are today?
I think I've been through quite a bit of things, and we all go through things, and so I'm not the only one who goes through things, and I want to be very clear on that. Like I'm not special beyond anyone else. We all have to go through things, but I've been through injuries, torn biceps, a variety of other things. I've experienced loss, of family members while I've been pursuing this. I think the toughest thing, if I was to put it to one thing though, is just the amount of time away from family that you have to do that, to do this. That's the biggest thing that I look back on, and there's nothing that I can do to change things, right? Like this is what I had to do. Like we talked about before, I understand what I have to put in. But if there's something I could go back and I could choose one thing to get back while still giving all the other things, it would be my time with my family. I've missed things. That's my biggest regret. Again, time with family, potential relationships and everything like that could have flourished, but that didn't because I had to pursue this. I knew in my heart and in my soul what God called me to do. I think we all have a certain thing that we're put on this earth to do. And for me, it was professional wrestling. And in order to do that, I had to sacrifice time. And you only have 24 hours in a day, right?
Yeah. It's a continual process,
Yeah.
you say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Throughout the process, did you imagine yourself being in the position you are today?
I think if you ask me, did I know I was going to be in the position? No. I had no guarantee, but I did visualize it in my mind every single day. Every single day I told myself, like, this is what I'm working towards and this is what I'm going to make happen. I think there's power in that. It doesn't mean you have a guarantee, but there's power in the visualization. Waking up every day and thinking like, okay, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to work towards today, the overall big goal. I had a vision in my mind of winning the Phoenix Championship Wrestling heavyweight title. I had a vision of putting that title in my dad's hands. I mentioned my dad and how we would watch wrestling when I was a kid. I'd sit right next to him. And I had the idea I was going to be a wrestler when I was 8 years old. And so I'd look up at my dad and I'd say, Dad, I'm going to win a belt like that one of those days. And he'd look at me, smile, and be like, "Oh, sure, kid." I did it. And that was a vision that I had in my mind for a long time, being able to put that in his hands. So it was definitely something that I had in my mind. I definitely didn't realize how much work would actually go into it, and no one ever tells you how much work can actually go into it because it's not something they can tell you. It's something you have to feel and experience. Even with all my words right now, I couldn't tell you all the stuff that you'd have to go through to get that. It's beyond what you can say. It only can be experienced.
Where's your mind at heading into Phoenix Championship Wrestling's live on Broadway next Saturday?
Kevin Koa, the man who thinks he can take everything. So here's the thing. Kevin wants to walk around with his buddies and wants to act like he's the be-all, end-all and like he should have been here to begin with. I've faced Kevin Koa before.
Yeah.
In fact, when I had my shot to get this title at the anniversary show, the first man that I stepped in the ring with in the Battle Royal was Kevin Koa. Kevin Koa can talk about how he's going to take this and take that. I'm a little bit bigger of a bite than he can chew, I promise you that. I might not look like it compared to Kevin Koa, but there's no chance he can take everything that I can dish out because I've put too much effort into this. And I say that not because I'm more talented than Kevin Koa or bigger than Kevin Koa, I just want it more than Kevin Koa does. And I see that every day because Kevin Koa aligns himself with people who are a bunch of yes men. I align myself with people who are going to make me better and going to make me continue to earn this and prove that I deserve this title. At the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to. This is a wrestling match. And in a wrestling match, I will prove to Kevin Koa that you can't out-wrestle Jon Wolfgang. You can try to intimidate me. You can try to, put me down, everything that you want to do. But I'm not giving up that title that I've worked so long and so hard for just because you want something.
What advice would you give someone that is aspiring to become a pro wrestler today?
Oh, man. So first off, I'd ask, are you in sports? If you're not in sports, then, we need to have that done before we have the conversation of you as a professional wrestler. Great sports to get involved in, especially early on. Number one is wrestling, of course. Like you need to get involved in your local wrestling team or your local wrestling club. Gymnastics is great. Body control is huge in professional wrestling. Being able to control yourself as guys are trying to flip you on your head and everything like that. It comes in handy, trust me. Public speaking, too. I find that a lot of times people who are into professional wrestling typically aren't as into kind of extroverted conversations. We kind of like let them do the talking in the ring and we kind of like just see ourselves through them. But if you're interested in being involved in this business, you have to learn to connect to people. You have to learn to talk to people. You have to learn to get outside of yourself. And so if that means, joining a debate team, fine. If that just means talking to people on a daily basis and figuring out how people work, because if you're just inside of your own bubble every day, you're not going to really know about what's beyond you. And with wrestling, it's all about that. It's all about figuring out what's beyond me. What do other people think? What do other people feel? And then you eventually find that it's the same way that you feel, and you feel connected through them. So those are the biggest things, is get involved in sports early. Make sure that you know how to speak, that you can articulate your points that you want people to know. And then also just be connected to your community. Understand people, the good and the bad.
What's more taxing on you, the physical or mental aspect of pro wrestling?
I'd say it's probably the mental. The physical hurts. Don't get me wrong. Like typically I'll wrestle on a Saturday night, and then Sunday I wake up and I roll out of bed like I'm getting out of a grave. You ever seen the movie The Revenant?
Yes.
Okay. So after he gets mauled by the bear and he's crawling and he's screaming, That's my Sunday morning after a wrestling match. So it's brutal in that regard, but the constant effort that you have to put into from the mental side and getting ready, getting prepared. I'm a little bit different too in that I'm not only wrestling myself for Phoenix Championship Wrestling, I'm also helping them coordinate their events. I'm helping coordinate Slam U. I obviously have a training center that I have to run. I have 40 students who need my attention. And some of the times we have personal conversations, which they trust me with. So I have a lot of people who require a lot of my time and a lot of my effort that's beyond just me physically wrestling. So, I mean, the wrestling is 15 minutes. You know, I can ice my sore muscles afterwards. I can get a massage afterwards and get a chiropractic adjustment and get back into shape as far as my alignment in my body. But the mental aspect can be especially grueling and especially more so if you don't have your ducks in a row. Like if you don't have a consistent schedule, if you don't stick to your diet and everything like that, you know, and your regimen on like how you want to operate in your daily life, if you don't have things mapped out as far as like your meeting times, you know, this time I'm dedicating to this, like I think that's a very important thing too that I'd hope people take not only from wrestling but anything. Set your schedule, and whatever you're doing during that time, focus solely on that time. So if you're with family, put away your phone. It'll be fine. You know, Instagram can wait. Be with family. Now, if you do have some time set aside for your phone and for social media to kind of look through things, cool. You know, enjoy your free time. Enjoy the bounties that life has to offer, but, you know, manage your time effectively. Enjoy everything, but manage it.
As we wrap up episode 11 of Wrestlezona on 88.7 The Pulse, I'm Lance Reece, joined in studio with the Phoenix Championship Wrestling AZ Heavyweight Champion Jon Wolfgang. And Jon, I have one last question for you.
Yes, sir.
What message do you have to these young, inspired fans that look up to you before, during, and after your matches?
To especially all the young fans that look up to me, I can't ever really repay you for what that means. I was a little kid just like you. I was looking up to wrestlers that I viewed as superheroes, and I dreamed about the day when I could have that sort of inspiration. And for you to allow me to be that for you, I just promise you I don't take it for granted. It means the world to me. Whenever you come up to me and you ask me for a signature, I'm still kind of beside myself because I'm still trying to, you know, fully process the change that I've made in my own life. So when you ask me for a signature, I really appreciate it. It means the world that you want my signature, that you view me as something so worthwhile that you want a picture, or that you want to buy a T-shirt, or that you want to come and cheer and howl to the moon while I'm wrestling in the ring, and that you will me on, because wrestling's hard, and I do suffer a lot when I'm in the ring. I go through a lot of pain, but to know that you guys are there behind me, that you're willing me on, that you want me to succeed, I think that's really cool. And that's something that I hope you know that I want for each and every one of you too. No matter what your dreams are, no matter what you're pursuing, I want you to succeed. And not just because you're fans of Jon Wolfgang, which is great. I appreciate that you're my fans, but I want you to succeed because I want this world to be a better place. And it's a better place because you're in it and you're striving and you're wanting to make it a better place. So always know that there's nothing I can really do to ever repay you for that, but I'd always love to have a conversation with you, and I hope that y'all continue to make your lives the best life possible, because that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I think I've done so far.
Well, thank you, Jon Wolfgang, for coming on Wrestlezona. I really do appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and do this for me.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, that wraps up episode 11 of Wrestlezona on 88.7 The Pulse. I'm Lance Reece. Do you have a favorite segment or song of the show that you'd like to share with me? Make sure to DM me on Instagram at Wrestlezona is where you can find me. We will be on break for the next 2 weekends, but make sure to tune back in March 30th That's right, March 30th for episode 12 of Wrestlezona on 88.7 The Pulse. In the meantime, you can stream our podcast on the 88.7 The Pulse website alongside our apps on Android and Apple. Encore episodes will air these following Sundays at 8 a.m. I'm Lance Reece, and until next time...